Hi, everyone. I'm coming to present this panel because this was a special panel, even though Anita is not coming here. This was the only panel in FIN that was made in cooperation with someone else, who was Anita, that got all these amazing people to join. So thank you so much for all your help and for doing this with me. So please welcome to the stage Nuno Carneiro, AI Strategy at OutSystems, Marcel Dengue, CEO at Menimo, and joining us online, we have Sofia. I'm sorry, Sofia, I'm going to say your name wrong for sure. Sofia Karagiani, Policy Analyst at Cleantech for Europe, and Olga Stolarchuk, Director at Israeli-Ukrainian Alliance. And to moderate the panel, Alexandra Dinia, Managing Partner at Dinia Legal. And I'm sure I said it wrong too, because I'm really bad at reading Hungarian names. So thank you all for joining us.
Hello, welcome everyone. Also, Sofia and Olga, can you hear us? Yeah?
Yep.
Okay. And Olga also, can you?
Yes, I'm just unmuted as it was advised.
Perfect. Okay. So do you want to know who are the young people who are shaping the future? If yes, then let me introduce the Global Shaper community, which is the initiative of deve, which is a network of inspiring young people between the age of 17 and 30, working together to address local, regional, and global challenges. Community based in almost 500 cities in almost 200 countries. Also in Portugal, we have two communities, one in Lisbon. Nuno is from there, right? And now we have one also in Oporto. And also Angola has, and also Maputo in Mozambique. In each city, teams of shapers self-organize to create projects where they focus on building entrepreneurial solutions for social issues. Projects are wide-ranging, from responding to disasters and combating poverty, fighting climate change, and building inclusive communities. Shapers are diverse in expertise, education, income, and race, but are united by desire to bring change. Global shapers are the change makers and the young leaders. And now, let me introduce you Olga Stolarchuk. She is from Ukraine, and she is based in Vienna. She is co-founding a company, Israeli-Ukrainian Alliance. Olga had the position of legal counsel in NJCS, Naftogaz of Ukraine, and before she was a lawyer in an international law firm. She studied in Ukraine and Austria, and she had also scholarships there. In 2020, she co-founded an initiative, VC Chatroom, first-hand concentrated video blogs with top VC leaders. Olga, the floor is yours.
Hello, I thought that will be changed. Should I present a little bit more about myself, or should I speak about the educational?
Yes, please. About yourself, and then all about the VC, and also about the Israeli-Ukrainian Alliance.
Okay, so thank you one more time for inviting me here. It's really an amazing platform. I had discovered it a little bit. So now I'm a director of Israeli-Ukrainian Alliance. It's a network helping the companies to expand the market in Ukraine and Israel. Unfortunately, during the last half of the year or more, to say 100 days, the Ukraine is in war, and most of the project sadly but stopped because they were more related to investment opportunities, and a lot of people just dislocated from Ukraine. So now I'm concentrated more on working with startups and with helping them to scale, to market, to do best marketing and sales abroad. I'm residing in Vienna for almost all these 100 days, and I will start working here. I'm really excited to be at the panel and share the best practices and my experience through the work as well. I'm a part of the Global Shapers community. I'm the shaper from the Kyiv Hub, as well as I was a community champion for almost 2 years. I was helping hubs to build the strategies to make more impact. And as our motto says, to build a better world. And I hope I had a chance to put something in this. This is shortly about myself also. I'm really eager to hear the question, if it will be any related with the speech or just about my career, as well as to prolong communication afterwards. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me introduce the others and then we come back with the
Sure.
questions.
Thank you.
Thank you. So our next panelist is Sofia Karagiani. She is from Greece, based in Brussels. Sofia is an EU qualified lawyer and currently a policy analyst for Clean Tech for Europe initiative. Previously, she worked for an EU climate and financial policy matters with a leading US international law firm in Brussels. Sofia is passionate about diversity and inclusion and has co-founded 2 initiatives focusing on women's economic empowerment. Please, Sofia, tell us a little bit more about you.
Thank you so much, Alexandra, and thanks to you and Anita and Carolina for the excellent organization of the panel. Much appreciated. So yes, I'm Sofia. I am originally Greek. I have been in Brussels for the past 4 years. I am a lawyer by background and training. I studied law in Greece, and then because I didn't really feel that I wanted to become a lawyer, I actually founded an initiative aiming to help underprivileged women invest in themselves and get empowered through fashion. This initiative is called Lead to Lead. It actually teaches these women how to make things from used materials and then how they can market them. This initiative was supported by the Clinton and Gelopoulos Fellowship and was the first initiative in Europe to launch a project called Linens for Life with Hilton Hotels. Basically, Hilton Hotels donated their seats, and some of the women we had selected actually made beautiful things out of these seats and made some money out of it. At a point in my life, I really understood that if I really wanted to make a difference in women's lives, I would have to acquire myself some more tangible skills. And that is when I turned myself into a policy lawyer. Right now, I am working at an initiative supported by Bill Gates' climate organization, Breakthrough Energy, with a goal to ensure that in the EU, clean technologies are the norm, and that in the next 20 years, we actually lead the race to net zero. So that's about me, and I'm very happy to talk later about sustainability and about how we can really lead the race for clean energy and net zero emissions. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. And now in person, our next one is Nuno Caneiro, Portugal from Porto, but member of the Lisbon Hub. Nuno leads the artificial intelligence strategy at OutSystems, the world's leading enterprise low-code application platform, where AI is being used to fundamentally change the way software is built around the world. He has previously worked at several startups, bringing machine learning and AI to industries such as financial services and e-commerce. Please tell us more.
Sure. Yeah. Hi everyone. Nuno Carneiro, originally from Porto, so very happy to be here and talking to all of you. Thanks for being here at the end of the day, for all the ones who are still here. And yeah, so I'm 30 years old. I'm a member of the Global Shapers community in Lisbon, where I've been living for a few years, although I grew up here in Porto and studied industrial engineering here in Porto. And yeah, I've been working for about 7 years in this area of artificial intelligence with machine learning and so on. Nowadays at OutSystems, which is a big Portuguese company in the software space. And what we're doing there is, OutSystems is a platform where companies can use to build software. And it automates a lot of the processes. So you don't have to build software with the traditional code where you have to hire programmers that write lines of code. With OutSystems, you can drag and drop things around and visually build software, which we believe will fundamentally change the way people around the world interact and innovate, because it brings the possibility of developing software to many more people who are not only software engineers, right, and people who study informatics. And at the AI team, so the artificial intelligence team where I'm at, where I work, where I lead the strategy, what we do is we try to use artificial intelligence to automate even more parts of that software development process, so that we make it easier for even more people who don't have any studies in engineering, for example, to build software.
Okay, thank you. And last but not least, Marcel Dengi from Hungary. He is a member of the Hungarian Hub. He is currently studying at university in Hungary and also member of the School of Economics of Matthias Corvinus Collegium. He is already an active entrepreneur, and he is the co-founder and manager of 2 startups, Manimo and Blandi. Let me shortly say a few words about Manimo. Provides a service that enables people to calculate their carbon footprint, and based on those calculations, have the possibility to offset their yearly CO2 emission. And his team is working to make this possible for everyone in the close future. So Marta, please tell us more about the startups.
Hi, everyone. Thank you again for being here. So I started my entrepreneurial career when I was 12 years old. I started with my grandfather, and then I've started many companies with many different industries. At the beginning of the year, we had 4 startups, so like the beginning of the previous year, and now we have 2. So you gotta feel yourself to success, and this is what we believe. With one of the companies, Manimo, we are focusing on providing carbon offsetting solutions, as Alexandra said, but also we are trying to show people how they can become carbon neutral, and also offering companies a solution for measuring their Scope 3 emissions. With Blandi, we are digitalizing labor-intensive processes for restaurants, so we believe we are going to change the hospitality industry for the better and allow restaurant owners to save around 50% on their labor costs and their need for labor. Yes, and I am also a member of the Budapest Hub.
Okay, thank you very much. So now we are going on some dedicated questions about AI and also sustainability, and then there will be more questions which are common and we can see everybody's point of view. But I encourage all the panelists to agree with or challenge each other if you don't agree the points. So first, Nuno, the first question is to you. How can we use AI without compromising the privacy of people but changing their lives for the better?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, that's a great question. I think first, maybe I should explain what AI is. So AI, first of all, it stands for artificial intelligence, and it's a very broad term that is very popular nowadays, but it stands for a lot of different technologies. So one which is very related to that is one called machine learning, which is about teaching machines to learn patterns from typically a history of data. But there's other technologies within AI. There's technologies like automated reasoning that are used there, and other things, in many other technologies under this umbrella of artificial intelligence that have been developed for many years. But nowadays it's getting more and more popular, especially because of the machine learning branch, namely a branch called deep learning, where we use large troves of data and computers with a large power to build artificial networks, neural networks, sorry, that try to learn patterns from the past. But and this deep learning it sounds a little bit complicated, but in practice it's just you give the computer a lot of data from the past, and there's an algorithm, that's this neural network, that will try to understand a certain pattern in the data and then make decisions based on that. And this is used in fields like natural language understanding, for example, where you can convert, for example, my speech into a text, because if you give it a lot of speeches and the example of texts from like a history of that, right, from other conferences, the computer can understand how to convert the speech to text, because it's the same pattern, right? How people speak, the words they use, and then convert that. The same with images, for example, can detect images and so on. And people have been putting together these technologies more and more to do new things, for example, drive cars and so on. And of course, now where the privacy question comes in is that if you have these models that require a lot of data to be trained, probably this data will have to come from people, and that's where privacy can be affected, right? and you can, and many times it happens that people include personal identifiable information about individuals in the data that you want to use for these models, and that can become a problem. But in itself, it's not like artificial intelligence is a problem, right? It's more like the data you use and also what artificial intelligence enables. Because if you have, for example, algorithms that are very strong and very good at facial detection, that enables companies and governments to do new things that they couldn't do before, like know exactly where each citizen is at each point if they have cameras all over the city, for example. And that's a problem. It's not that the artificial intelligence is a problem, is that it enables certain things that weren't possible in the past, but that now are possible because you can, for example, identify where people are at each given moment. And it's more difficult for people to remain incognito because they're more easily identified either by their face or even by the things they say, for example, online. So I'd say that's where the problem comes from. But there's good things in artificial intelligence, and I'm a very optimist, of course, and I'm working in the area. For example, in healthcare, there's a lot of benefits that are going to come for all of us in healthcare with artificial intelligence, because as you might already be imagining, things like detecting diseases, cancer detection, those things are mainly based on patterns as well. So if you have a lot of data from previous people who had this disease and you give the algorithm this data, it will probably start understanding what are the patterns and what are early signs that humans could not detect, but could be early signs of a disease or cancer and so on. And this will lead to earlier detection, and then also artificial intelligence can be used for discovery of new drugs and treatments and so on. And you already start seeing these things. There's research being done. Of course, privacy is an issue, but there needs to be more research on that and more work, because it's clear that there's a lot of benefits for all of us and for humankind there. And the same in other areas, for example, where I work in software development. I really believe that if we make this possible, that people develop software more easily, it's going to boost innovation around the world. Companies are going to be able to do a lot more with less resources, and therefore innovate more and create more business and grow productivity, basically, which is the base of improving life, quality of life around the world. Self-driving cars, like I was saying before, maybe nowadays we think it's normal for us to drive cars, right? But maybe it's in 50 years, people will be very shocked by the amount of people that died in 2022 driving cars by themselves, because that's very dangerous. So that's another area where I believe artificial intelligence will save lives, and there's many more. So in fact, the technology, and it's an umbrella term for many technologies that has been improving over the years, and it's been growing a lot in the past 10 years, boosted by these large amounts of data that are available and computing power. But in itself, it's not bad, but it can enable bad things, and it can also be done badly if you have bias, for example, in the data, that you only make the artificial intelligence algorithms work for a certain type of people and not for minorities, for example, or if you use data that's then allows you to identify people individually. But of course, then what you need is ethics around that, right? And you need, for the people who work in the area, and you need regulation to keep up with what's happening. So the technology is evolving, there's new problems, so regulation needs to also evolve and follow with it.
Thank you very much. So I was wondering, you said for machine learning, we need a huge amount of data to teach them, right? To recognize. So how can we imagine where they get the data? So for example, in your practice, what you see?
So one of the problems nowadays is you go online and you go on your phone, you install an app on your phone, and they're already collecting data on you because they want to teach those algorithms on your data, and that's where you might feel intruded in your privacy. That's a problem. Or you go on Facebook or these big platforms, they also collect a lot of data that intrinsically they probably don't want to do any bad thing about it. They just want to give you better recommendations, for example, what movie to watch and so on. But it's a problem because the data is being collected and it's stored somewhere in a server. And if bad actors have access to that data, they could know a lot of things about you that you didn't want anyone else to know. Let's say you become an important political figure in the future, and there's all this data about all the places where you live and so on, where you spend your time, and that can make you a target for bad actors. that's definitely a problem. That's a lot where the data is being collected nowadays by bigger corporations. But ultimately, it doesn't have to be that way. There's ways to anonymize data. There's ways just to make the decision not to collect the data and to teach the algorithms and delete the data. And ultimately, I believe there's good ways to go around that, so that it doesn't have to be done in a bad way. There's good ways to do it, and regulation should keep up and help enforce these good ways of doing it.
Thank you. So as we see, the biggest problem is the repurposing the data, so what they collect and then what they use for, right?
Yeah, data, and as I was saying earlier, also the use you give to the technology. If the technology enables you to know where people are and tracking people and so on, that's also a problem, and you don't want to, maybe don't want to do that, right? You don't want to follow your citizens around all the time, or I don't know.
I see.
These things, yeah.
Thank you very much.
It can be done. Yeah.
Thank you for giving this insight. And now, my second question is to Sofia. To you, my question is, how can business be based on respect for others and each other's moral grounds and still be profitable in your field?
Yeah, that's a great question, because actually right now the European Commission is really looking into that. Actually in February it proposed a directive on sustainable corporate governance, basically envisioning that big corporations under some kind of thresholds have to report on their value chain, on the respect to, concerning the respect, how they respect human rights, their respect toward the environment. So I believe that right now, with the whole push to actually, particularly, I'm going to talk about the EU because this is the arena that I know best, with the push from the Green Deal and all the pressure that we only have 8 years to deliver until reaching the midterm climate goals of 2030. All the conditions are there for businesses to act in a responsible way and to really invest more in sustainability and lead the race to net zero. On a more practical level, this would mean that they would have actually to start caring about their emissions more, start engaging in upskilling people on how they can work in the new kind of infrastructures that the transition to sustainable energy would require. And ultimately, it would also mean that they would have to care more about how they remove carbon from the atmosphere. All this to say that businesses have a great opportunity to kind of save the planet right now, because all the technologies we really need to get to net zero and ultimately get independent from Russian fossil fuels are there. The only thing that they should do is actually invest in these technologies and start themselves kind of questioning their own non-sustainable practices.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And you just mentioned sustainability, where I would like to join Marta in the conversation, because he is from these fields, as we heard. He has a startup. And my question would be here, that how can we be sustainable, respect the environment, and still live in a consumption-based society?
I'm really glad that you mentioned net zero, because most people mix up sustainability with zero emission. So net zero doesn't mean that we have zero emission. It means that we balance out our emission with different type of activities that either prevent next emissions to occur or sequestrate the emissions we've already emitted to the atmosphere. So in these times, and also you've mentioned new technologies are being used to channel in sustainable energy. So this war has actually a great effect on sustainability, because the energy prices are like skyrocketing currently, and the previously expensive sustainable resources, just like using energy from the sea or using energy from different kind of sustainable forms, were really expensive. And currently, with the current energy prices, these type of renewable energies are becoming less and less, like the gap between the renewable prices and the currently used fossil fuels are narrowing down. So it will be less expensive to use sustainable resources than gas in the close future. And this is why we see that sustainable resources are becoming more and more popular.
Okay.
If I may intervene, Alexandra, in that, can I, or we will have the opportunity to intervene later?
Now you can, of course. Yeah.
Okay, it's just a small observation, because right now everybody's talking about renewables, meaning mostly solar and wind, but nobody's acknowledging that renewables are facing intermittency and seasonality, meaning that even if tomorrow morning all Europe was kind of flooded with solar panels or wind turbines, we still wouldn't have the energy and electricity we need. So it's also like renewables are a great solution, but there are also other technologies that we should look into, like energy storage, for instance. So I think that like businesses should also take the broader picture view here, that, okay, invest in renewables, but also look into the other energies, because even if we put all our money there, it won't be enough.
And what would you say, what kind of the percentage, what could keep the balance of the renewables and the fossils?
I mean, the Repower EU is a good step in the right direction, but still misses a lot of key points. I mean, still uses money to actually invest in gas infrastructure and LNG in the short term, and at the same time does not take into account that we really need storage for renewables to work. We really need sustainable aviation fuels. We really need a lot of other technologies that are niche and that policymakers should be aware of, and that also businesses should invest more in.
Thank you very much. And our final dedicated question to Olga is, how should education change to meet this era of information and speed while still maintaining children interested in knowledge? And here I wouldn't just go for the children, but also adults, young adults.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm just summarizing the business part related, back to roots, like how we get here, how we deal with the information, how we deal with renewable and everything. First of all, I think this education is already changing. So it's not like we need to invent the wheel or something. And I think that we need just to follow the best practices. I think for all the participants will agree with me. And here I will share few of them, just the concept as a young myself. I assume that I'm also on the stage of getting new knowledges and being engaged more, as well as a mentor for younger people. And also, secondly, accept the speed, accept the information area. We had a huge impact for the education and getting the knowledge and just interaction during the COVID time that recently are ended or still is here. So it's also reshaped our agenda, it's reshaped a lot of terms, and it's also reshaped how, what, where, and why we get this information. So if talking what we need to change, or just where we need to consider the changes, I think it's all the areas. We should work with the content of education and information we gain. It's also related with IE that I wanted to comment that, we have a lot of information accessible. We have access for everyone there, but also we need to work how to work with this information, how to be protected from them, or how to use it for the benefits. It's also about the format, how we interact and educate, about the tools, and about the role of the teachers of future, let's say. And in this area is related to all education and sharing the experience, that there are a few concepts. One of them, we need to be updated and fast. For sure, everything is developed, and there are a lot of innovations coming, even maybe now we're speaking, and some invention already done, and AI also learning and machine learning, and still we need to be updated with all of this. And also it's dependence on the, let's say, technology. It's also related with the panels, or maybe with other technology online. We get more and more dependent. Everything is getting more digital. And so we also get more and more tools to use these digital benefits. And especially, let's say, the younger generation gets more and more tools. I remember myself, and I got the computer, let's say, in the first great of my university. Now everyone in school has the mobile phones, tablets, and internet connection, so they just need to be more updated in this. So I would say that technology is no longer motivation factor, and it's kind of comes as the learning as a must. So we need just to be updated, being fast in discovering all of these tools, but also to learn how to work with them. And also in this regard, not only for the children and students, but also for the teachers. So they also update it and they know how to work with this, how to implement and how to engage for getting the new knowledge and transfer it. Also, the second concept of the new future education, let's say, it's the personalization and customization, let's say. This gives our more efficiency. I think that in the past, children or scholars or students, they had the same work, home task regarding the ability, regarding the skills, regarding the path. It just, they had the same and they need just to do with that. I think it doesn't mean that doing the same means them more successful or that they get efficient. And I think that in this concept, teachers or tutors or mentors, they need to take into consideration that there are different paths, that there are different abilities, different engagement, and we need to work with all of this. And all of this is doing to maximize the potential of individuals to work together or maybe to work individually. And in this stage, in this concept, there are a lot of attention on how to engage to get the new knowledge, to how to make them more interesting to develop by themselves, not just because it's neatly. And there is always a combination of how students engage and equity-based approaches, curiosity, imagination, design thinking. So all of these concepts need to be established or used in engaging in new education. And also the third, and maybe like the last one, it's that we need to connect education and the process of getting new knowledge with the reality. And in this direction, we all work in the teams, even though we develop and maximize the potential during the personalized approach. We also work in the teams, we also collaborate. Even now, we also share the experience, the knowledge and everything, and this makes the benefit for all of us. And I think that this experience that a lot of collaboration, communication, and it's also not in the school, but goes out of the schoolrooms and school walls, let's say. And I think that the teachers, they need to work on this experience and to facilitate how this experience goes to school, to students. And like just to sum up, I was thinking a lot when I was preparing to the panel, who should be the pusher, or it should be other roles for the education to get to the people who want to get the knowledge. And I realized that teachers, they are our educators of the future. And since the education change and the technology are developing and speeding, and the role models are changing, the role of teachers also must adapt and grow. And they're really responsible now to empower, even though we say that the teachers become more facilitators of learning and students are, they just get the control of their journey and everything. But still, we need to invest a lot in teachers and that become more global data collectors, analysis and experts and problem solvers. And they just create the basis. I know maybe my speech a little bit out of the sustainability in AI, a little bit, but I think this is the basis. The more creativity we give further, the more knowledge we share, and the more curiosity we create for the students on the, like, let's say, basic level. The more creative ideas, the more interesting startups and solutions will rise. And it starts from the beginning. In schools and university, in such organizations like Global Shapers, we also create the synergy, we also create some collaboration and interaction which gives something. And we also keep updated each other.
Thank you very much. And yes, the first round of questions would be the point that we show everybody is filled. But now would come like more general question for all the panelists. So anybody could respond, but first I would address to you. So you told us which are the the methods to teach the children and what would be the new way of teaching, but also what do you think, which are the most needed skills today as a young professional in the business world?
So there are, like everyone said, there are like hard skills and soft skills. And I think that what I meant by education and just developing it, especially in the area that we develop personalized approach, that for starting a business or just getting something done in life, you need to develop the soft skills for sure. You need to be creative, you need to be curious, you need to be updated, and just to get as much as possible information, try yourself. Then I assume that you should just work on your own skills and ability and develop them to know what you can do in the future. Because I remember myself, I was learning so hard mathematics, but now I don't use it so much. And I think maybe I spent so many times instead of doing something more practical. I wish then maybe I could start my company early. Sometimes I think so, but then in reality, I think maybe the experience I gain and the teamwork and collective project I had together during even my math classes give me also some kind of experience. So the answer for your question, that I don't think that there is specific tools or skills you need to develop. I just think that you need to get this personalized approach to get at your pace and your skills approximately, and just to try as much as possible what you can do, as well as to share the experience, to try new areas and not to be afraid to learn something new, even you're 30 years old or 40, and also to keep updated because everything is so changing. Something you can learn for years then it can be not useful anymore, or not, maybe there is no profession on this. So I think that there is no one recipe on what you need to do about your skills, but just for sure non-stop studying and teaching.
Thank you. And Marta, would you have
Yes,
something?
I'd like to reflect back on education. So, and I'd like to address a question to the audience. So, please, could you put up your hands if you know what a carbon offset is? Like,
so how many hands? I can't hear. I can see it.
Only two.
Only two. So
Okay.
I couldn't agree more that we need to find new and creative ways for education, because when we put Monimo out on the market for the first time, actually most of our customers and most of our target customers didn't understand what we were doing, because like back in the days when Henry Ford was asked like what do people want, they said like we want a faster horse, and he invented the car. So we believe that with sustainability, when you are trying to put a new service on the market, you also need to educate the market. And with the attention span narrowing down with people, currently we've come up with a creative solution to to let people buy a product, and through the product get to know the actual service of Monimo and actually the service of that they can use to offset their carbon emission.
Thank you. And also I would like to hear the opinion of Sofia about the soft skills. What do you think? Which are the most important?
Well, I think that of having empathy is a great soft skill to help you thrive in any professional setting, as well as honing your communication skills. I think there was a report from the World Economic Forum not long ago in 2021 talking about the skills that are going to save 2050, and communication was ranking around third or fourth of the skills. Because any job that we are doing nowadays, it's a bureaucratic job. At the end of the day, even if you don't have a specialized degree, you can do it. I mean, the majority of people, we are not employed in nuclear energy or physics. We're employed in simple bureaucratic jobs. So you can excel in these environments only if you know the tricks of how you can actually communicate your work efficiently. And the third skill I would say is actually making yourself visible at the office. I mean, a great part of being successful, I mean, in like the terms that we define success nowadays, is not only doing a good job, but also maintaining a network both inside and outside of your office, and also making yourself useful and being there and proposing new ideas. So that would be kind of the skill set that I believe is useful.
Can I add something to Sofia
Sure,
about
yes.
communication? Yeah, I also read this article, but just in reality, I work so much with the deep tech startups, and the level of communication skill within the startup is really low. But I realized that they're so good in the, let's say, creativity and ideas. So they just think that, I mean, like I saw that just like the examples that communication is useful, but so many startups, they just don't follow this rule, but still exist on the level of, being important in the digital area. So I wish they had more communication skills, but yeah.
But that's why they need you, right? Because you have them
Yeah.
in this field. Yes. And Nuno, what about your field?
Yeah, I was thinking here, it's a difficult question. I was looking at in the audience and the people here today, all of us, and we're all different from different countries, and even like the whole world is represented here. And I was wondering, are there really skills that our young people should have that are the same in Portugal as in other places around the world? I don't know. Maybe I think all the things we said, empathy and resourcefulness, that's useful. Maybe it comes down to being quick at adapting, probably, because the world is changing fast all around the world. And communicating, I would also say that being able to work and collaborate with different people, and that's definitely going to play a part, because as we see here, different people come together more and more often. And I hope they do, and that's great. So yeah, those will be my bets.
Thank you very much for the examples. And I think, yes, adapting now after the COVID pandemic, it's really what we learned, right? And was a big need for that. And now I would turn to the ladies, because I'm wondering, how is it for a woman working in a business environment today? Sofia?
Okay, I can start. Well, I think that we are lucky enough to work in Europe, meaning that we are treated equally as men. We don't have to face any kind of hard obstacles to access the market or to study. In fact, women are more educated than men. I would say that the problem is not in my level. I mean, I am in a kind of mid to senior level. The problem of women representation is more at the higher level, meaning at the C level. And there, I think that a lot of women actually don't reach the top, not because some of them don't want to reach the top, but others because they have so many responsibilities outside of their office or their business that at some point they say, okay, I cannot destroy my mental health to actually thrive. So yeah, in the level that I am, I don't see any kind of difficulties compared to my male colleagues, and I don't see any kind of salary discrepancies compared to my male colleagues.
Yeah, and one more question regarding this. And what about your business and family balance in life?
What exactly is the question? How do I balance my work and life?
Yes, how difficult it is to manage.
Well, I'm a workaholic, meaning that my greatest joy in life is actually working. So I don't really see an unbalance between my work and my personal life, because the moment that my work stops being fun, then I just turn off my computer and go out, see my friends, and engage in other activities.
It's really great to hear. And Olga, what is your experience? And if I'm not mistaken, you are also a mother, so it's maybe a little bit different for you.
Yes, so starting from the first question, I'm working in Europe, I work in Ukraine, and I also work in the Middle East. So I had like different kind of experience working with different companies. And actually I'm a director, so I'm responsible for the business development, for leading the company. I wouldn't say that my company is a big one, but we have like 15 employers, so kind of the middle, let's say. The thing I face, and also maybe it's more related with working with the other female directors or like C-level, let's say, that sometimes it's really hard to make the balance between being a mom, being a wife, and being a business leader. But the hardest is just to see not so many good examples on this, especially in the startups, not so many female founders. There are not so many, let's say, deep tech or some other technological startups there are. So in this area, I see some gaps and I see some mispresentation or like some difference. But in my business, I don't feel it. For sure, I had some, let's say in the beginning, some maybe harder job to prove that I'm better and I'm good enough. But now I don't see, I see the equality. With the startups, I see it more, but I'm sure that the more good initiative starts, the more startups will establish. And I know there are a lot of programs, there are a lot of funding, there are a lot of educational projects or programs for women to start their business. And I think the more time will pass and the more successful examples will exist, this inequality, if it exists, it will just reduce. And also about the work balance, yeah, we spoke about the soft skill, and then I didn't know what to answer, but now I know that maybe adaptability and flexibility, this is something helps you to be more resistant. And now I actually face another question: how do you balance not just the work and family, but how do you balance work and family? Because as you know, in Ukraine it's hard times, and still we need to work, still we have families to take care, and you just still need to be on the same path you've been. So this is the hardest part. But I think that we get so much support and so much successful cases nearby, so it's getting easier to be surrounded and collaborate.
Thank you very much. It's good to hear that you two have good experience. And yeah, of course, we get newer and newer obstacles. But as you said, flexibility and adaptation, it's really important. And now I would get back to the guys. And the next question is about entrepreneurship. And what's your favorite aspect of being an entrepreneur, Marcel?
My favorite aspect is that you can do whatever you want with all the positive and negative sides. So there's no one to motivate you. You got to motivate yourself. And I have many, many days when I just really don't want to go in and work. But in one of the startups, we have 5 employees, and in the other startup, we have 7 employees. And if you don't go in and work, like, they will follow your example, and they will also not put any money on the table because you're risking your money. And if they don't work, they still get their salary. So you need to go in and work and regulate yourself and motivate yourself day by day. But you know, if we are among the 10 best startups in Hungary and we work in the same office, so if we have some hardships, the best part of being an entrepreneur is that you can share your ideas and also get some feedback from the fellow entrepreneurs and hang out and learn a lot. And you can do whatever you want, means that there's no limit in what you can do and how many lives you can change and how many lives you can affect. So with both startups, we're focusing on affecting as many people's life for the better as we can. And as an employee, you have such limitations that doesn't allow you to do what an entrepreneur can do. What an entrepreneur can do.
I see. And have you seen sometimes that it may be more difficult, or actually takes more time, or this flexibility is not just a positive, but maybe a negative aspect of entrepreneurship?
It's an interesting question. Yes, it can also be negative, but what do you mean by that? So can you rephrase the question, because it's so broad for me?
So like an employee, maybe your day is more fixed, you know, when you go in and when you leave, but maybe as an entrepreneur, it's never ending working day.
Yeah, so like we work 7/7, like 24/7. But I like it. So I think school doesn't teach you for life. And this is when we were talking about education. And also, what's the skill that you need? School doesn't teach you to take action. And I think as an entrepreneur, you learn that if you're like 80% sure that you can do something and you'll do it, for the most part, you'll succeed in that aspect. So yeah, this is what I think.
Thank you. And also the same question to Olga, because she has also the Alliance and also the VC. So what is your experience?
Yeah, so I like it from the side that it's all about your will, about your power and your creativity. So that gives you a freedom to create something new, to try to be more innovative and just to maximize the efficiency. So that's the case when you can do it, and you can, or at least try to do it. And you also said that it's possible to be like from the negative side. I think it's just about being a truthaholic, but it's also about our choices. If you decided to have an impact and you can do it, so to being self-employed or having your startup or doing something creative, this is the way to try it. And also, I think that from the perspective of the education, nowadays we are so much privileged to have an access and so much creativity near us and so much speed. So we can just try to be in this fit and it just can be part of the changes. I don't think that my parents were privileged so much. They were creating also the better place, but didn't have an access like we have. So I think this is the chance to try yourself. And if not, then you always can be referred as an employee again.
Thank you. So as you said, impact is really important for you. And I think it's really important for all of us, global shapers. So I would like to have one round of questions about global shapers and you to introduce to our audience what is global shaper is, what you got from global shaper, how you got to know global shaper, and what is your best experience with global shaper. The first question is to Nuno.
Surprise question, and I'm the first one. So I joined this network, I don't know, 4 years ago, maybe. And it's been a great way to get to know very interesting people from around Europe. Usually there's the people in Lisbon, of course, but typically, the network is around the world, but I have the chance more to meet people like you guys here in Europe and in this type of events. I had a chance of being at visiting the World Economic Forum in Davos, 2019. I think that was one of the most interesting experiences because I was fairly young, right? I don't know, 28 years old maybe at the time, and you're just there seeing this thing that people talk about a lot, but it's always something that you think is very inaccessible. And just being there, kind of, you understand how things are made, and it also helps you. It helps you get and you get this notion that you can also be part of it, and that there's no mystical force ruling things, right? That it's also up to you and up to us to change things and to enact change. And if you don't like how things are going, then it's up to each one of us to change things. And that's a little bit what I've been trying to do also in my life. Some things I don't like happening in Portugal and around democracy, for example, and the quality of our democratic system. Trying to change that a little bit, as much as I can. It's just a little bit, but being involved with people, inspiring people like you and Marcel and Olga and Sofia. For me, it's mostly about this motivation and this idea that I can also enact change, and it's also possible for me to change things for the better, even though I'm not a powerful person or anything like that. But even if I can just change things for a little bit, that's already important. And that's the thing I appreciate the most, meeting the people who give me this motivation.
Thank you. And could you just give us one example of what kind of projects you had in the hub? Any?
Yeah, sure. So for example, at the Lisbon Hub recently, we wrote a book on financial literacy. So we is a little bit an appropriation here. I wasn't involved at all in that, but some colleagues of mine wrote a children's book on financial literacy, which got published end of the year. And it helps children learn about savings, which in Portugal is a big problem. It's proven, and there's a lot of studies around that there's not a high level of financial literacy, and there's a lack of resources for that. And that's one of the things we try to act on.
Really great. Thank you. Marta?
I think the best aspect of Global Shapers is the people that you can get to know if you become a member, and also the fact that it's global, so you can get to know people from all around the world. So we've just met a Hungarian guy who's a Global Shaper in China, but he's still Hungarian, and also we got to know you guys. And also we've never even met, but we still in the same community. So if we have any problem or any ideas, we know who to turn to, and we can experience many different aspects of the world. So especially when the war broke out, we had a conversation with the Ukrainian hub to share our ideas and how we can help them. So I think getting help from others in any way that you could never ever imagine that you could get help from is the best aspect from Global Shapers.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Sofia?
Sure. I think that the Global Shapers for me is more of a family than a community. It's a great kind of environment to meet very interesting people and to really kind of open your own horizons. You get amazing opportunities from attending the World Economic Forum in Davos to actually interacting with world leaders. And at the same time, I think that throughout your years as a shaper, you really develop yourself to, it's like, for me, it's like an accelerated master in business administration. It's weird what I'm saying, but you get exposed to so many different things and to so many people that you wouldn't be able to experience otherwise.
Thank you. And also, I would like to ask an example from you, what kind of project you had in your hub?
So I started my career as a shaper in Athens in 2017. Right now, I'm a part of the Brussels hub. I would say a key moment for me is right now that along with other 3 girls from our hub, we are leading a project called Generation Women, where we want to help the next, the young professionals of Brussels to actually equip them with the right skill set to thrive, and with the hope that 10 years from now, these people are going to run Brussels, and we would have contributed to their development somehow.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And Olga, your point of view? And also because you are not just a member, but you were also head of the local community and then head of the regional community of the Global Shapers. So I'm really curious.
Yeah, it's really hard to answer in the end because I have the same feeling, especially about the MBA program and accelerators. Just to add something new, I would say that it just accepted its family and its amazing people and extraordinary opportunities as well as it was, but it's also a space where you comfortable can test ideas, projects, and you can get diverse answer to it, because when we create the collaboration between different hubs, even as it was said before, that we are have different mentality, different cities. I mean, like we present the different cities, different countries, and so we have the project on different issues because we work mostly on the local one. But still, when you have this collaboration and the area when you can exchange or just get the best practices as well as test some ideas and project and get the feedback, not only, let's say, for Ukrainian, but globally, and as well as support globally. That means that it's also accelerated not for the people, but also for the projects. In Kyiv Hub, and actually I know the projects of the region as well, there are different successful cases when within the collaboration it gets wider and wider. A lot of projects related to finance literacy as well in our regions. We also work with women empowerment, with the child empowerment, you know, for those who want to enter the university and who don't believe in university education. Also in Kyiv Hub, I was lead of the project called Ukraine Discovery Tour, It was a project aimed at showing the Ukraine and its opportunities for those who never been here. And it also was a secured network, so it was also only for web members. So it's a nice chance to be in the country and get all the contacts, all the projects necessary just to learn how Ukraine looks like, or maybe to start working with us. So this is the basic.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And that would be our panel, introducing the global shapers and also the young entrepreneurs and young ones in the business. So we wanted to show the professionals and also a little bit of insight of the global shapers. And I encourage anybody from the audience who is between 17 and 30 years old, or if you have any friends, colleagues, employees, or partners, to search for your local community, your local hub, and join, because it's really great community, as you heard, with many projects, impacts locally, and also with a great international network. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for joining us online, Olga and Sofia, and also Nuno and Marcel here in person.